Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wassalatu wassalam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Last week we concluded the manzil of al-i'tisam, the station of i'tisam, and today we enter a new station, a very interesting and beautiful station called manzilat al-Firar, the manzila of escaping. And this station is taken from the verse towards the end of Surah Al-Dhariyat, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمِن كُلِّ شَيْءٍ خَلَقْنَا زَوْجَيْنِ لعلكم تذكرون ففروا إلى الله إني لكم منه نذير مبين ولا تجعلوا مع الله إلها آخر إني لكم منه نذير مبين. The Quran is so powerful, and as you all already know, the more you experience life, the more you experience the Quran, the more you study the Quran, the more you understand it and learn from it. And that's just the miracle of the Quran, that you can spend 1,000 years studying it, experiencing it, and it'll still offer you its treasures. So in these verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying He created everything in pairs, male and female. Every living organism, species, object is created in males and females, pairs. And they need each other in order to survive, to the extent that even trees are male and female. So for example, palm trees, there's male and female, and the way they would fertilize, I guess if that's the proper word, these palm trees is that they would take a male and female and kind of bring them closer together and tie it in. Right? That's a practice that was done back during the time of the Sahaba, and maybe even still practiced today. It's called talqih, right? And that's how it continues to grow or produce. So everything is male and female, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says He did that لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ, so that you reminisce. Manzilat tadakkur, right? Going back to that, it's supposed to help you come to a certain conclusion, right? And what is that conclusion? Now the verse after says فَفِرُّوا إِلَى اللَّهِ, escape to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, run to Allah. And firru mean literally escape to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, find that refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what the verses do is they cut out something, right? From everything He created pairs, so escape to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Well, why? What's the connection here with these two things? And the Quran does this a lot, right? It skips some piece of information. Why? Because if you give it enough contemplation and reminiscence, you will come and you will understand what the verse is saying. So the Quran does this quite a bit, and that's why sometimes when people read the Quran, they're a little bit confused. It seems like it's jumping everywhere. It's not jumping everywhere. It's encourage you to contemplate and think. So why is Allah telling us, and what telling us that He created everything in pairs? And why, based on that, should we escape to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Well, if we create everything in pairs, it's reminding us that we are always in need. We are in need. The fact that we need the opposite gender for our own survival, right, is a very important reminder. It's a daily reminder that we are a species that is in need. And anything that is created in pairs, right, is in need, and therefore it is limited in what it can offer itself and provide others. So no matter what you look at, whether it's a tree or an animal or a fellow human being, right, all of these species have something in common, that is, they are limited in what they can offer to themselves and to others as well. And that creates a lot of burden upon us and limitation upon us. Well, if I am in a situation, right, and I need help, and I'm looking at all these fellow human beings, and I realize that they're all limited in what they can offer me, well, what does that tell me? Where do I need to go now? To a source that's unlimited. فَفِرُّوا إِلَى اللَّهِ, escape to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because Allah is al-Ahad. He's the one and only. There is none like Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. There is no similar to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is nothing that even resembles Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's perfection. Nothing. So Allah being the one and only, He is the one and only in that He has no pair, He has no other, right? Whereas everything else has an other, has a pair, or is part of a pair. So when you look at that, Allah is not in need, which means that He is not limited in what He can offer us. So escape to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is part of His name, As-Samad. in Surah Al-Ikhlas, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ. Allah is as-Samad, right? The word Samad means to endure something, right? And the way it goes back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is capable of all things, and everything is in need of Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing can survive without what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can offer that individual. If you just look at the example of air, can anyone create air? Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one who can create air. I mean, that's enough of an example to remind us how much we are in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We lose air, we're done. Right? What is it? I think 3 minutes or 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Without air? No, maybe 5 minutes, I think. But even if you reach that 5 minute, it's going to cause major brain damage, right? But 3 minutes, 30 seconds, you can survive that without major damage done to the brain. But, I mean, look how short of a time span that is. And we can lose everything. Also, this concept goes back to Allah's name, al-Qayyim, right? The one who is managing everything, right? And everything is in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be managed, or needs Allah to manage their own affairs. So this station is reminding us of our need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but in a different way than tawbah. So when we go through this, you'll see some similarities between this and tawbah, right? But what is the difference? The difference is tawbah, you are trying to alleviate yourself of a harm, right? Of a previous action. I did a sin, or I'm not acting in the most righteous way, right? Firar is more of, okay, I need to motivate myself to actually escape to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some people might do tawbah, right? You know what, I did a sin, I asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness, but that's the end. For other people, it's not just about receiving the mercy and the forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is about going towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I want to run to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you can see how the motivation can be quite different. Yeah, I'm afraid of His punishment, therefore I'm going to repent. But the one who's doing firar, this is a higher level of engaging Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm going to run to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because I need Him, regardless if it's because of a sin that I did previously or something else. And we'll go through the details. And escaping, Ibn Qayyim rahmatullahi alayhi says there's two types of escaping, two types of firar. The first one is firar as-su'ada, the escaping of those who attain happiness in this life and the next. And that is escaping to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, running to Allah. The second type of firar is firar al-ashqiya, the firar of those who are destined to be doomed, or those who are on the path of failure. And that is escaping from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instead of to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? For us it's kind of hard to grasp this concept, right? Well, how can someone escape from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Where are they running, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says this, فَأَيْنَ تَذْهَبُونَ? Where are you going to go from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? But you'd be surprised. We take it for granted, the way we view Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But there are some people who view Allah in that He is a being that is limited, subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are some people who believe that Allah doesn't know everything. There are some people who believe Allah can make a mistake. There are some people who believe that they can challenge Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now we take that for granted. It's not even a concept that we can even entertain. Someone can challenge Allah? What? Right? It doesn't make sense to us. Why? Because our image of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is perfection. Allah is capable of doing all things, and the Quran really instills this in our hearts. Right? But there are some people like that. They think they can escape. And look at the hypocrites. The hypocrites are exactly like this. And once we get to the verses in Surah An-Nisa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes them in great detail. Right? They think that they can deceive Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To the extent, this belief stays with them even during the Day of Judgment. They think they can deceive Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the Day of Judgment. Right? So some people have that. So they escape from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They think they can hide from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But that's just impossible. Abu Ismail al-Harawi, now explaining this station, says, هو الهرب مما لم يكن إلى من لم يزل. Firar is fleeing to the one, or fleeing from that which was once nothing, non-existent, to the one who has always been there, to the eternal, right? Fleeing, meaning, right, to put it in different words, this station is about fleeing, turning away, escaping, running from, removing the shackles of the creation by running towards the eternal, subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So this station is different than tawbah in the sense that now it's not just about repentance and expiating our sins. Now it's about removing those shackles that are really hindering our path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, slowing it down. And as always, Abu Ismail al-Harawi likes the three levels of each station: the level of the general level, the average level, and that is min al-jahl ila al-ilm, aqdan wa sa'yan, wa min al-kasl ila al-tashmir, jaddan wa azman, wa min al-dhiq ila al-sa'a, thiqatan wa raja'an. So the first level of this station is attained by doing achieved by doing three things. Number one is escaping ignorance by going towards knowledge, right? And knowledge in terms of our beliefs and in terms of our actions. So ignorance is two types. So again, we're fleeing from ignorance by going towards knowledge. So what is ignorance exactly? There are two types of ignorance. There's ignorance that is the result of lack of knowledge. That is a type of ignorance. And there's a second type of ignorance that is a lack of applying what you know, right? So in the Arabic language, and this is used throughout the Arabic language, even pre-Islam, right? And the Quran uses it in this sense. Someone who has knowledge but does not act upon that knowledge, they are called ignorant. They are an ignorant person. Why? Because the one who acts a certain way, because they don't have knowledge, and one who acts the same way despite having knowledge, right? Both of them did not benefit from their knowledge. This one lacked the knowledge, so he didn't benefit from his knowledge, and this one didn't apply his knowledge, and therefore didn't benefit from that knowledge. So they are the same. They are both ignorant. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, أعوذ بالله أن أكون من الجاهلين. Talking about Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that Musa said, quoting Musa, I seek refuge in Allah from being among the ignorant people. And he says this in response to the children of Israel when they said, أَتَتَّخِذُنَا هُزُوًا. Are you playing around? Are you mocking us? Right? He told them to slaughter a cow. Allah commands you to slaughter a cow. Their response was, you're making fools of us. Right? You're mocking us. So Musa ﷺ says that this is an act of ignorance. This characteristic of mocking and making fun of, that is an act of ignorance. And mature people don't do that. So he calls it ignorance. And in another verse, وَإِلَّا تَصْرِفْ عَنِّي كَيْدَهُنَّ أَصْبُ إِلَيْهِنَّ وَأَكُمْ مِنَ الْجَاهِلِينَ. Yusuf ﷺ, dealing with the situation with the wife of the Aziz, when she tried to seduce him, he says to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you don't take this away from me, I'm going to fall into that sin and I'm going to become among the ignorant people. Right? He's not ignorant of the fiqh ruling of that situation, right? But he says that if I don't apply that fiqh ruling, what did I benefit from my knowledge? When I know something is haram, right? The idea is it's something that hurts me and harms me, whether it's spiritually and or physically. Because we believe that if something's haram, it's bad for us. It's not good for us. That's why Allah made it haram in the first place. That's the wisdom as to why it's haram. So not only does it harm our spiritual relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it also affects our physical bodies or our society, economy, whatever it may be. So Yusuf ﷺ says that if I fall into this, I'd be among the ignorant people. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in a third verse, إِنَّمَا التَّوْبَةُ عَلَى اللَّهِ لِلَّذِينَ يَعْمَلُونَ السُّوءَ بِجَهَالَةٍ. Tawbah is from Allah for those who do sins out of ignorance, or ignorantly do sins. Right? That's not a lack of knowledge. It's a lack of applying that knowledge, and that is seen as an ignorance. Why? Because their knowledge didn't benefit them. So the person who knows and the person who doesn't know are the same. And I believe I gave you the example, right, of the blind person. Right? A blind person's walking and he hits a pole. Why did he hit the pole? Because he can't see. Right? Now someone who sees, who has vision, is walking, it hits the same pole. Right? Why did they hit that pole? They're on the phone, right? I mean, that's right. Regardless, right? They hit the pole. Did they benefit from their vision at that moment? At that moment, their vision didn't benefit them. So the one who's blind, this person who's blind and hit the pole, and the person who sees and hits the pole are the same. That person who had vision in that event did not benefit from their vision. That's why they hit the pole. So someone who has knowledge, and that knowledge doesn't transform the individual, make them better, or refine their actions, then that person, the one who's ignorant, are at the same level. They didn't benefit. So knowledge, the fruit of knowledge, is action to benefit from it. So escaping from ignorance occurs by attaining knowledge. Knowledge in terms of our belief. So what we do here in terms of learning about these concepts, that is the theoretical part of knowledge, is we're attaining the information, right? So that's part of removing that knowledge, and that goes a very long way, especially when it comes to misinformation and deviations in terms of belief. Knowledge helps to subside or subdue that. The shaitan might come to someone, or these Islamophobes, Fox News might come and start throwing these misconceptions about Islam. The Prophet ﷺ was a warmonger, right? He fought a lot of wars, and look at the Quran; it's talking about jihad. Well, someone who doesn't know much about that topic, well, they might be convinced. Well, yeah, the Quran does talk about jihad. Yeah, the Prophet ﷺ did participate in battles, right? But when you look at other elements, did the Prophet ﷺ ever kill anyone? He fought in battles, but there's not a single person who died by the hands of the Prophet ﷺ. It was by the companions. He never killed anyone. He fought, but it never led to the death of anyone. Right? The Prophet ﷺ commanded us not to kill women, or children, or old people, or physically impaired, or civilians, or spiritual, people who are just focused on worshiping and rituals, monks and whatnot. Don't harm them. Right? So long as they're not in one way or another participating in the battle. Right? Don't destroy property unnecessarily. Right? Don't mutilate or desecrate any religious sites or bodies of the deceased. Are these the attributes of a warmonger? Not at all. Warlords create death and destruction. Right? So where's the relationship here? So when we have knowledge, it helps alleviate that and subdue it. And then the second part of it, وَمِنَ الْجَهْلِ بِالْعَمَلِ إِلَى السَّعْيِ النَّافِعِ وَالْعَمَلِ الصَّالِحِ قَصْدًا وَسَعْيًا. And then escaping ignorance by acting upon our knowledge. Right? There is no reason to come to this class and learn what we are learning and listen week after week, if we're not going to use that knowledge to benefit ourselves. We might as well do something else. Be very honest with ourselves, right? There are some people, unfortunately, this is becoming a trend and a fad among Muslim Americans. When they go overseas to study, to Medina, to Azhar, to Darul Uloom in Pakistan, wherever, it's more about the experience. It's really surprising that people, these young individuals, will leave their home country and their comfort to live in a different country so that they could just chill and hang out. You have an opportunity, right? Take advantage of it. That's a very bad sign if that's what we're doing in the Prophet ﷺ's masjid or the Prophet ﷺ's city. Right? Imagine going to Umrah just for the sake of shopping. I could care less about the Prophet ﷺ's masjid. All right, I'm just going to pray in my hotel. It's more convenient and comforting, right? I'll just do Umrah, that's it, and then I'm just going to spend the rest of my time shopping. If you want to go shopping, go to some shopping center of the world. Go to Paris, right? It's probably even cheaper, at least Hajj-wise, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? If you're just going to go and chill in America. Make friends in America. But to go, travel, and for the sake of knowledge, quote unquote, right? And that's what we do. And it's very, very bad. And we will get to a station. The station after this is actually called riyadha, exercise. So we can talk a little bit more about how to really train ourselves in that regard. So when we attain knowledge, the intention is to act upon it. And that's something we need to constantly check. Why am I coming here? Because I want to change myself. I want to improve myself. I want to enhance my station or my place with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The fruit of knowledge is action. If we learn and don't apply our knowledge, it's just a weight on our backs. That's what it is. The second aspect or element of the average firar, the average person's firar, is min al-kasal ila tashmiri jaddan wa azman, from laziness to dedication. From laziness and tashmir, this word that they use, the Sufis like using this word, or Ibn Qayyim at least likes using this word. Tashmir is when you go like this, right? You know how when we're ready, we put up our sleeve, roll up our sleeves. That is tashmir, right? So this motivation that is also has this dedication, right? I am motivated to do this. I am dedicated as well. So attaining or achieving firar, we need to get rid of that laziness and become serious in what we are doing. Jaddan wa azman. Jad here, huwa as-sidq al-amal bibadl al-juhd fi, is it's seriousness, right? We're doing this in a serious manner. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, tells the children of Israel, خُذُوا مَا آتَيْنَاكُمْ بِقُوَّةٍ. Take what we have given you, meaning the Torah and the commandments in it, take it with seriousness, بِقُوَّةٍ, with strength, meaning seriousness. This religion is serious, right? And when people come to me who want to convert and whatnot, I tell them, look, this is a serious matter, right? You need to enter this faith not because you want to get married to some Muslim girl, right? We're willing to accept you. We can make that happen. But this faith, this religion is serious. You have to enter the religion because it's the truth, not because it's a condition to getting married, right? So this is a serious religion. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says, وَكَتَبْنَا لَهُ فِي الْأَلْوَاحِ مِنْ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ مَوْعِظَةً وَتَفْصِيلًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ فَخُذْهَا بِقُوَّةٍ. Talking to Musa والسلام, and the Torah, he's telling him, right, we have given you this book, and in it is a guide and a model for living the best life, right, and the most pious life as well, that's going to lead you to paradise. Take it with seriousness. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells Yahya alayhi salam, Ya Yahya khudh al-kitaba biquwwa. Same thing. Take your book with strength, meaning with seriousness. When we think about Islam, this is a serious religion. When we think about prayer, this is serious, right? Not to take the fun out of it or the pleasure out of it. It's not what we're saying. But when we approach something with seriousness, it's very different than approaching something when, I could care less about this, right? And we all have, personal examples. If you're going to enter the stock market, you're going to be serious about it. You're going to do the research. You're going to realize there are consequences if I don't act correctly. And there are very profitable results if I do act correctly, right? The same thing with Islam. If I play around, there are major consequences. Some people look at religion that this is just a tool for healing, right? Even some non-religious, atheists say that, religion's there just as a healing mechanism. Right? That's the way they look at religion. Well, if you look at the Quran, Allah is threatening a lot of people. That's not a healing mechanism, right? So we need to be serious about this. The second part is al-azm, that will. And what's meant by this is sincerity. Sincerity in the heart. So you have the seriousness in our actions, and then you have the sincerity in the heart, right? And Ibn Qayyim says something very powerful here. Pay attention to this. Really, this hit me. So pay attention to this. Put your pens down, right, and listen to this. أضر شيء على العبد السين وسوف وعسى ولعل وهي شجرة ثمرها الخسران والندامات. He says the most harmful thing to a servant. Now he's speaking to our spiritual side. Right? The most harmful thing to us is seen, sofa, asa, and la'alla. These are words that indicate future tense. I am going to do this. I will do this. Insha'Allah, I'm going to do this. This is the most harmful thing you can do to yourself as a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inshallah, when I get home, I'm going to pray. What happens 95% of the time? We don't pray. Inshallah, next week, I'm going to give charity. What's going to happen 95% of the time? We're not going to. How much reward have we lost because of this mentality and this, approach? I am going to do this. And back in the day, in the generation of my grandparents, right? And this was Islam. This was Islam to them. Once you retire, that is when you start practicing. And my grandma, she's still alive. When she looks at Hajj and the pictures and the live streaming that goes on in Hajj, she always tells me, when she was younger, the only people who went to Hajj were senior citizens. That's it. Old people. That's it. She's always fascinated and so happy when she sees all these young people going to Hajj or to Umrah. Right? It was something very different because Islam was, the effects of colonialism, which, alhamdulillah, although we're starting to get out of it, it's still, the wounds are quite deep and they're still bleeding, right? So this is quite difficult on the self, but it's crucial to our escaping to Allah, to our relation with Allah. We got to get out of that mentality of I am going to do this. Now, someone might come and say, well, I'm in the car. How am I going to pray, right? So I tell myself, when I get home, I'm going to pray. Well, you got to assume that you're not going to pray, right? Even if you are in a situation that's hindering your ability to pray, like being in a car, for example. So instead of saying, when I get home, I'm going to pray, okay, what can I do now in the car? That's an act of worship that'll get me closer to Allah. Dhikr, right? Listening to a lecture. If you have Quran memorized, reviewing your Quran, your memorized, what you have memorized of the Quran, whatever it may be. Sometimes even picking up your phone and calling a loved one. I just call you, check up on you. How are you doing? I think there's a lot of reward for doing this in our times today because that's something we need to revive, caring about one another, right? Calling your children, calling your parents if they're still alive. If they're not, may Allah have mercy on them, inshallah. Or making a dua for them. If your parents have passed on, make a dua for them. Oh Allah, forgive them, grant them, increase their ranks in the next life. So always, we need to try and get ourselves out of this mentality of I am going to do this once I get home, even if it's after 5 minutes. Because the shaitan comes and he gets your mind working, right? The third element of the average Muslim's escape is min ad-dhiq ila as-sa'a thiqatan wa raja'an. This is beautiful. If you want to live a life that's full of, that's satisfying, right? This is a major element to that. Escaping from being confined, meaning having a confined heart. That feeling when you feel like, oh my God, I just want to get out, right? I just want to escape. I feel like I am shackled, I am tied down, right? That feeling in the heart that sometimes really can stress you out. This is what the author's talking about now. Escaping from that to as-sa'a, to feeling that freedom, right? Thiqatan wa raja'an. You do this through your trust and through hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is so important because when you feel confined, right? So we recognize the feeling, but a lot of times we don't recognize what's causing that feeling, right? When we feel that, it is the result of stress, concern, grief, and fear. This is what Ibn Qayyim rahmatullah alayhi is saying. That feeling of confinement tends to be the result of stress, worry, grief, and fear. Because when we're worried, why are we worried about something? Because you don't know how it's going to turn out. I'm worried about, for example, my kids. And in our times today, things seem to be crazy in our times. Right? You feel that worry. What's going to happen? You feel that worry because this is a situation you don't have control of. If you were in control of it, right, you won't feel that worried. If there are, if the consequences aren't really that great, whatever, if they don't get this job, they'll get another job that's equally as good. You don't feel that worried. But if it's an all or nothing situation, that's quite worrying, right? And this is what causes this confinement in the heart. And when we feel confined, right, we need to recognize how harmful that is to our hearts. There's a station that's coming up later called the station of huzn, grief. Now, I haven't read it yet, but from what I know of Ibn Qayyim, he said that grief, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran always tells the Prophet ﷺ not to be sad. La tahzan. La tahzan. Don't be sad. Why? Because it does not bring anything good. It drains our energy. It kills our enthusiasm and motivation. It harms our commitment, right? And it just brings nothing good. So Allah always tells the Prophet ﷺ and is telling us, don't be sad, don't be sad, don't be sad. In fact, sorrow is one of the tools of the shaitan. إِنَّمَا النَّجْوَى مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ لِيَحْزُنَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that this act of najwa is private rumors, when you come together and talking bad, and Allah tells us not to do that. And He says that is something that shaitan does to bring sorrow to the believers, right? But what's the continuation of the verse? وَلَيْسَ بِضَارِّهِمْ شَيْئًا إِلَّا بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the shaitan can't harm you in the least, right? And have tawakkul on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in order to remove the confining elements, or the elements that are confining our heart, and really expanding our heart and freeing it, the author says you need thiqah, you need trust in Allah. Look at the verse, how it says, وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Depend on Allah. Have that tawakkul. Because if our dependence is on Allah, and we have experienced how tawakkul, manifests itself in such positive ways in our lives, when that situation or event or that case comes that is causing us stress or concern, tawakkul comes in and says, remember how Allah has taken care of you before? He's going to take care of you now. And that removes those elements, those shackles that are confining the heart, and gives that expansiveness to the heart. Right? Also raja'an, having hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is my situation, but I am hopeful in Allah that He's going to get me out of it. My job now is bad. I don't like it. Sometimes a person has a bad job. That is detrimental to them. That is really detrimental to them. It could cause depression. It could create very unhealthy daily routines, right? Especially now with more jobs offering working at home. What I see is that people who work at home, they're in their home for very long hours, and they're confining themselves. It creates this kind of confinement. And sometimes a person can't get themselves out of that routine. I don't recommend anyone to work at home. Right? If it's part-time working at home, fine. But working at home 40 hours, you need to get out. So unless they have some sort of daily routine that gets them out of the home, right, and lets them experience the fresh air, feel the fresh air and experience life, being at the home for that long is not good. It's not healthy. Especially in, SoCal homes that are smaller, right? If it's Eastern homes that are in the East or different areas where, mashallah, they're expansive and massive, maybe that's a little bit different, but here that's not going for us. So having hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He will get me out, having hope allows us to dream, allows us to have a future vision. Yes, I know Allah can do this for me. I have hope that He's going to do that for me. Right? Inshallah, things will get better. That's very good health-wise. Mental health-wise, that's very good. It creates that dream, the vision, the future. It helps a person, gives them the ability to build a future. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Hadith Qudsi that I am as my servant thinks of me. So they should so let them think of me as they will. Meaning if someone thinks of Allah positively, Allah is going to help me in this regard. He's going to get me out of the situation. He's going to make my situation better. That's what's going to happen. Right? And the fruit of that, the appetizer of that is the feeling of not being confined. The heart feeling comfortable and free. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will provide that. And in the Quran, Ibn Abbas says that anytime the term asa, which is perhaps in the English language, anytime that this verb is ascribed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that means it's going to happen. Because when we have hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it manifests itself, it happens. So the individual is to escape from this confinement of the heart escape from the confinement of the heart to the freedom of the heart through tawakkul. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقُهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. Such beautiful verses. And whoever is conscious of Allah, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make a way out for them. And He will provide them from places that they never expected. And whoever has tawakkul, has trust in Allah, then Allah is enough for him or her. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of that. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we have that trust in Allah, we need to remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never fails our hopes. He never kills our hopes. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not waste the efforts of those who act and those who do. Remember when I talked about 3 impossibilities? When we have a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it manifests itself in three ways, right? There are 3, we fortify our hearts with 3 impossibilities. It is impossible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to fail us. So if we work and have towards Allah, we have our trust in Allah and we have our hope in Allah, Allah will never fail us, ever. It is impossible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to fail us. And underline, we use that word, it is impossible for Him to fail us. Not like a fellow human being. I got your back, don't worry, right? And they might, not even care. Or they might be sincere. I am trying to help you, but you know what? I failed. I'm limited in what I can offer you. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never fails us. Number 2, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always there. He never goes anywhere. It's not like I have to be worried, is this person going to answer my call or not? Maybe I'm very dependent on someone. What if they move? Right? What if, la samahallah, they pass away? Right? So it's very limited. It's very concerning. It's breakable. Whereas Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always there. He's not going anywhere. And call Him at any time with dua. He's always there. He's always there to answer. And no worry about reception or internet strength or leaving a message. Right? And number 3, no one can interfere with your relationship with Allah. It is impossible for anyone to come between you and Allah. Because they can shackle your body. They can imprison you. They can harm your body. They can impair it. But your relationship with Allah is in the heart. No one can stop that. Right? So these are 3 impossibilities that help free our heart from the shackles of being confined. SubhanAllah. And when we do this, part of the tawakkul, by the way, and part of the hope in Allah is that when we are presented with a situation or a challenge, that we deal with it with courage. We embrace it, right? Not like, I'm not saying we go after it, right? We're looking for the next challenge. But if it comes to us, we embrace it. Why? Because we know Allah does not put anything in front of us except that it is to strengthen us, to improve our relationship with Allah, to expiate our sins. There's a wisdom there. There's a purpose. There's a reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is bringing it to us. We know that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah does not bring anything to us except that He wants to get us through it. Right? Allah doesn't leave us and say, okay, you're on your own now. So know that if a challenge comes to you, the one who brought that challenge to you is the same one who's going to get you through that challenge. Right? Also, when the challenge comes to us, right, we might be concerned in terms of our the limitations of our resources. You have family coming over, right? And sometimes the stay is extended, and that can be burdensome, right? I have to work more now. I have to entertain my guests. It's going to cost a little bit more. It's going to increase my monthly spending, whatever it may be. And that can bring an amount of worry. And that worry starts to confine our hearts. And when our hearts are confined, it manifests itself in poor characteristics. We become more aggressive. We lose our temper a lot more, right? We become, oh my God, why this, why that? But if we approach this with trust in Allah and hope in Allah, you know what? The Prophet ﷺ told us, take care of your guests, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He owns everything, and His resources are unlimited. He is going to give me. Don't worry. Spend. Right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا أَنفَقْتُم مِّن شَيْءٍ فَهُوَ يُخْلِفُهُ. Anything you spend, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to replace it. Now we're not saying be reckless in the way we spend. But if we are spending in manners that are pleasing to Allah or that are necessary in our lives, right? Don't worry, Allah is going to replace it. That's part of the tawakkul. That's part of the hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? It might be stressful at times, but if we have this mentality, right, of hope and trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that builds this courage. Yes, I'm gonna attack this head on. Not only does it alleviate, the confinement of the heart, makes us feel freer. Because man, when we go somewhere, and we feel like we have the money to spend and to give and etc., that feels very good. That's very alleviating. It's very comforting. You feel like you're free. Your heart is free. But when we're kind of calculating everything, oh my God, I need to calculate this and I calculate that, right? And it really feels like, you're confining yourself. You're not able to live your life to its fullest, right? Now again, it doesn't mean we're reckless or we're not economical in the way we spend. But when push comes to shove, if we have something in front of us, give, and inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will replace that. And not only does He replace it, right, you also gain the reward that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises for those who do good deeds. So, that is the escape or the firar of the average Muslim. Following that is the escape of the above average, the khassa. And we will stop there, inshallah, because I think we'll stop there, inshallah, and we'll continue next week. وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.